Got the hurricane right now as of 8 p.m., the advisory from the National Hurricane Service, putting the National Hurricane. Most of the problems with this has been rainfall. Seeing Homestead with 85-mile-an-hour wind gusts, Sombrero Key up to 79 miles per hour, and Miami International Airport just below hurricane force. We've had our crews on site through the day, and right now we've got two crews to take you to. First, we're going to, in Daytona Beach, we have Jeff Morrow standing by as the storm heads farther to the north. But first, we're going to go to Hollywood, Florida, where Jim Cantori has been battered by rain and wind today. Jim, you were getting rained on pretty heavily last half hour. Has that let up at all?
Yeah, it has, Warren. A nice improvement, too. But, of course, the damage has been done with about the 10 inches of rain that we've had here over the past 36 hours. You can see behind me that that's left its mark, so to speak, where we have water throughout this entire parking lot in front of the hotel that I'm in, and even some of this all the way out onto A1A, which is the main thoroughfare here, heading up the beach. Again, Hollywood, just about halfway between Miami and Fort Lauderdale, where you can see a lot of these cars have dealt with water today, pretty much halfway up the tires. We didn't see at any time where they were inside the doors or potentially flooding some of the cars. So at least that has been some good news. But Warren, as you mentioned, this has been a very, very interesting hurricane, especially given the fact that we left Tampa this morning, made our way all the way over to Fort Lauderdale. And I got to tell you, as a meteorologist, this was very surprising to see the type of ferocity that this thing has brought about on the East Coast. Well, I want to take you back to about 4 o'clock this afternoon when we did our first live shot. Here it is.
Rich, I can barely hear you. First and foremost, I've got to thank everybody here at the Holiday Inn. They helped us set up this shot. It's virtually impossible to set things up with these kind of winds here. We are feeling the full brunt of Hurricane Irene, and ironically, after going through major hurricanes of Dennis and also into Floyd, this is the worst I've been in, and this is barely a Cat 1 right now.
And, of course, as that was happening, I remember looking at the satellite picture after I got a chance to come inside, and the storm was what we call bursting, and you could see the infrared and the colors of the infrared really exploding. So it was actually intensifying, and as we saw, the winds did go up at that point to 85 miles an hour. But just a beating here on the coast. We can't see a lot of wind damage where we are here, Warren. We actually do have power, but there have been reports of power outages in Broward County as well as Dade County, and there's a very good chance that many folks will go the night without power. But certainly as things continue to improve, as we see the winds at least die down a little bit, Florida Power and Light will get out, even tonight, even late tonight, and try and repair some things. But don't anticipate too much, that's for sure, because it is still going to be a miserable night with the wind and occasionally bands of rain rotating on through here. So all in all, it's been a heck of a day, and we're happy to see, at least for the folks here in South Florida, things slowly improving. Well, let's see where things may be deteriorating now as we go up the beach. Jeff Morrow's in Daytona Beach with a live report. Jeff?
That's right, Jim. We have, just in the last 15-20 minutes, had some fairly heavy rain here and some fairly gusty winds. Nothing like what Jim was just showing you earlier during the afternoon down there along the Gold Coast. But it has started to pick up here just a little bit, but we are way a ways from where the center of this hurricane is at the present time, but it is heading in this direction, as Jim mentioned. Now, some areas of Florida have had a lot of rain because of the tropical systems moving by, and other areas have not had so much rain. We have some graphics we want to go ahead and put up here for you. Again, here's the map that shows you the southeast coast has gotten plenty of rain, including the Gold Coast, and just south of here at Melbourne, actually about 11.5 inches above average. Now let's show you some of the actual totals. We have another list here that we can show you of some of the rain. Again, some of it pretty impressive. Places like Melbourne, as I mentioned, getting well over 11 inches. And again, Fort Myers about 6 inches down. Tampa about 8 inches down. And here at West Palm Beach about 7.5 inches down. So it just depends on where you are in the state as to how much rain you have. I'm afraid that many areas, at least along the northeast coast, are going to make up that deficit in a big hurry. What we're just worried about here, obviously, is that we get way too much rain like they did along the Gold Coast, which would, of course, lead to some flooding here. So we're awaiting Irene as it continues to move up the coast. We'll keep you updated here from Daytona Beach. Let's get back to you in the studio now, Warren.
All right, thanks very much, Jeff Morrow and Jim Cantori reporting from the east coast of Florida as Hurricane Irene continues to make its way northward now and could emerge out over the Atlantic Ocean sometime during the overnight tonight or into the early part of the day on Saturday. We're going to take a trip now to the expert desk. Hurricane expert John Hope has been with us throughout the afternoon into the evening. And John, you've been following the progress of Hurricane Irene. What are you seeing right now?
I'll Thank you, Warren. We're watching that very carefully, and what we see is movement still toward the north-northeast, about the same speed, I think, about 12 or 13 miles an hour. And we think that's going to take it very close to the coast after midnight, likely a little bit north of Palm Beach, perhaps south of Fort Pierce, somewhere in that area. And when and if that happens, as we think it will, then we're anxiously awaiting to see what effect this might have on the storm. Now, like all tropical storms and hurricanes, when the center comes ashore, and it's been ashore since about 5 o'clock this afternoon, it begins to wind down a little bit. But if it comes back out over that water, it's pretty warm off the east coast of Florida. We're talking about the Gulf Stream there, so I'm afraid that it might at least hold its own. There's some possibility that after it weakens a little more, it could actually pick up a little strength. We don't know about that yet, but we're going to be watching it very carefully. Let me show you the forecast track, and as we do that, it's forecast to go basically to move out over the ocean somewhere in here and then go basically parallel to the coast. Now, whether or not it's going to be just inshore, just onshore, just offshore, of course, we can't tell. What we do feel pretty confident of is it's going to begin by Saturday night or Sunday to accelerate northeastward very rapidly as we have this major trough of low pressure come down here and literally pick it up and move it on out. So that could be good news for the mid-Atlantic states, say North Carolina, because even though it may rain heavily, it may not be of all that great duration. Strongest winds now have definitely shifted north. We've seen gusts to nearly 60 miles an hour here just in the past hour. Here's our infrared picture where the bright red's still showing up, very much in evidence here. That hasn't changed. And of course, that bright red is pretty much coincides with where some of the heaviest rain is. Now, we watched this storm this afternoon. It came ashore right here in the Cape Sable area and has moved up the center to just up here, not very far from Fort Lauderdale, a little bit north of there to be sure, but it continues to move in that direction. And again, some very strong rain bands are coming around here, so more rain. The rain is nowhere near over, and especially once you get north of Fort Lauderdale up toward Boca Raton and beyond, the rain just beginning to move in toward Daytona Beach. So we'll continue here to bring you frequent updates at the Weather Channel. That'll be it for this time, so now we'll bring